It was the horrific anti-Semitic mass murder that played out across various parts of Israel. The worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Last week marked 1 year since the October 7th terrorist attacks on Israel by Hamas. Approximately 1,200 people lost their lives and 101 hostages are still being held. Thousands lost their homes, and many, like our next guest, are unsure if they can ever return to their beloved Israel. Galia Sopher was camping on a kibbutz with her 2 little girls, her husband waiting at home for them to return when their world changed forever. We sat down with her in Cyprus, where her family now lives, still trying to process the trauma of what happened. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today to tell your story. I know it's not an easy thing to do. Galia, how are you doing?
It's an easy question and a very complicated answer. Because the easy, like the short version is I'm fine. I'm alive, I'm healthy, I have a beautiful, lovely family, which they're all, I mean, we're all crazy, but you know, the good, normal crazy. So it's easy to say we are good. But on the other hand, we are not. I'm not.
I know it must be incredibly difficult to talk about, but could you share with us what happened to you on that day, on October 7th?
You know how, like before it starts like to rain, like the thunder, so I hear that and for a split second I'm like, please let it be rain. Rain, it's okay. But it was a split second. And all of a sudden it's like a million missiles, like, you know, you start hearing boom, boom, like everywhere, like boom, boom, boom. So I turned, my daughters were like, I was sleeping on my side and my daughters were in my back. So I turned and I just put myself on top of them, as I've seen in the news, and like, I wasn't trained to, but like it's, you know, you've seen people do it throughout my life in Israel. And I just like was telling them in a mantra, like, you're safe, you're with me, we're okay. And I just kept repeating this while there was like a million rockets flying on top of us and there's like nowhere to run. This was the first time in my life. We've been living in the Gaza envelope for 4 years, I think, something like that. So all those years there were escalations, there were things, but we were always like either at home and then you run to the shelter, or you're in a building and you run to the shelter, and there's always somewhere that there's walls. So it's the first time that caught me in like such a vulnerable position with my tiny girls. They were 3 and 5 back then. And I'm like, okay, like it's gonna stop and we're gonna like be shaken out the entire day, but it's gonna be fine. And it kept going and going and going. I'm like, okay, so like I'm on top of them and I like do like this, grab my phone and I call my husband, like, come pick us up. And he didn't answer. Like it went straight to voicemail. I'm like, what the hell? What do I do? And while I'm like trying to think and trying to keep them calm, I'm like, I can't hear anyone outside. We're 30 families. There's a lot of booming, like a lot of booms going on. Why are children not crying? You know, like, what's going on?
Across the neighboring kibbutz were scenes like this. Galia didn't know that yet. But amid her uncertainty, armed volunteers helped Galia and her 2 small girls into a vehicle, speeding them home. It wasn't the last time they had to move to safety.
My husband opened the door, and the second we go in, I realize we have no electricity. So I'm like, okay, one more challenge. So we put the light on the phone so that they can play a little bit, and we are trying to keep calm. And how do you tell a 3-year-old, shut up? Because there might be bad people outside.
Home was no longer a sanctuary. It was a place they had to shelter until they could flee the area, not knowing if it'd ever be safe to return.
Of course, you sleep like 20 seconds and you wake up and you just pray for the girls to sleep and be okay. And then around 2 or 3 a.m. we get this message saying like, okay, now it's safe, you can go. So we took the things, we opened the door and I see these like 5, 6 soldiers that were patrolling, right? Because it took, I don't even remember how many hours, but it took hours. And that's one of the things that like, it makes me so angry. Why it took so many hours for the army to arrive? We have the strongest army, the best army, all the things that we've been told over the years. Where were they? So we see like 5, 6 soldiers and they escort us to the car, and you could see they were like scared. They had this face of like, it's real. And they escort us to the car. Friends that did leave when they said that it was on their own risk around the sunset, told us, I asked them like, okay, do's and don'ts, talk to me. They're like, drive fast, drive well, and put the kids on the floor with the heads down. It's like the apocalypse. I don't know if you've seen The Walking Dead, but it was nothing short of that, just like in real life. Like bodies there, burnt cars over there, like just, you can't believe it. Like, am I in a movie? Is this real?
Scenes like this are seared into the memories of survivors like Galia. She even remembers the smell. But their next location was another step towards normalcy.
We spent a week in Netanya. If you ask my eldest, she's gonna tell you it was the best week of her life. Oh, she's so sweet. Because they had candy nonstop coming at them. Ice cream at 8 a.m. I'm like, no, stop, they need to go to sleep. So in Netanya, we were in 2 hotels because Mefalsim is the biggest kibbutz in our region. We are 1,000 people. I know it sounds like a little, but it's a lot. So we were in 2 hotels, and we're a good community, so we wanted to be all together.
Did you ever get an explanation from the Israeli army on why they came into your kibbutz, but why they didn't attack people there?
Not really, because we are supposed to have the best info in the world, right? Like the Mossad and like, what happened? Like, till today, I'm like, we knew. Like, there's no way that no one knew. It just doesn't make sense, you know? Like, yes, I'm still waiting to know who knew what and why they didn't do anything, and I'm sure it's like chess pieces, you know, and very political, and I'm not gonna get into that. But it's just like, it's very sad that we're small little pieces for the big people that are ruling our lives.
When do you think that everything that happened hit you? When did you start to process and realize what you'd actually been through?
But we all lost friends and people that we knew and loved ones and everything. So like, I don't know, that's like a memory that's like when you don't know in that moment, and then you put the pieces together later of like, oh my God, that's what I was smelling. Like, it wasn't the bonfire that we lit the night before. It was houses burning, people burning, you know. And you know how they say, like, from the things that stick in your memory, smell is the one that's the most. We just got a lot of help from a lot of people. I'm still in therapy. Me and my husband were still in therapy. Our girls are fine. My girls, my eldest, the teacher, was just telling me outside that this morning they were talking, and they're like, okay, if someone wants to share anything, and she's like, yeah, I want to share a story. And I'm like, oh, what did she say? And she told them like, yeah, so there were rockets and we had to stop the picnic. I'm like, what picnic? And I'm like, she knows what happened, but like she made it up into a good story. And yeah, and then we left and we were in the hotel and now we're here. I'm like, God bless you. You know, no 3-year-old, no 6-year-old should know what does kidnap mean.
How did you explain to them who the terrorists were?
The bad guys. Bad guys that for no other reason than being bad wanted to do bad things to us. And we succeeded because we're alive and happy and healthy and we need to remain that way. And now come make your bed because you're not exempt from that.